Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as well as the vast majority of crypto and finance. And I did want to put a spotlight on the idea of a liquidity crisis. In my opinion, a global liquidity crisis is brewing. We will address this and talk about it as well in this video, but I'm sure that a lot of you are already aware of this. Listen, in the last couple months alone, we have seen banks starting to crumble. To me personally, as we look at what's happening around the banking sector, this is proof that a lot more banks are on the brink of collapse. We've talked about how 700 plus banks are actually at a negative capital flow right now, meaning they are at a loss. And it's only going to continue from here on out. And liquidity, in my opinion, is drying up. And also banks are extremely weak right now. I've talked about how banks are broke and why we do see individuals like Jamie Dimon running over to the SEC and telling them, hey, you guys need to go after anyone tweeting about banks over on Twitter on how they are shorting them. Maybe we could even, ban short selling of banking stocks. Like, it's wild the time that we are living in right now, but it's also proof of how weak the financial system is currently. Now, I did want to start this video off with this video going all the way back to 2022, and this is Brad Garlinghouse. When you see XRP on-demand liquidity actually reduces systemic risk to a country because the banks have more sovereign control over their own currency. Listen closely to this.
The governor of a large central bank in Southeast Asia say to me, if customers were using XRapid, which is Ripple's XRP liquidity, it actually reduces systemic risk to a country, a small economy. Let me explain briefly what that means. Today, in order to, if you're a bank in fill-in-blank country, you pre-fund accounts around the world. If you're a small economy and you're pre-funding billions of whatever the local currency is into other accounts, you actually are losing control over those. And when there are currency runs, when there are challenges for local economies, that creates risk, increases the risk systemically. So if you didn't have to pre-fund, but this is an observation that I didn't make, this is an observation that a central banker made to me, that if all of the banks in this particular country used XRapid, the systemic risk would actually go down because they'd have more sovereign control over their own currency.
Now, of course, in my opinion, as we look at XRP, I believe that XRP could be a significant solution to a liquidity crisis. Now, it doesn't mean 100% certainty that XRP will. I'm just saying that, yes, I do believe that as we look at a lot of these digital assets and as we look at what Ripple is focused on, I do believe that Ripple, combined with the power of XRP, solves many of the inefficiencies around the traditional system and ultimately will solve for a liquidity crisis. Now, over here, we do see big banks don't have any liquidity. This goes all the way back to November of last year, where you see Fundrise CEO warns of impending national liquidity crisis. And in my opinion, I believe that this is going to be a global liquidity crisis, actually. It's not going to just be a national one. And as we do look down here, a lack of liquidity has widened the gap between investors buying and selling treasuries, creating big swings in bond yields. That shift means more volatility, with rate-sensitive growth stocks being vulnerable as borrowing costs rise after a series of recent Federal Reserve rate hikes. Now, to me, as we have been looking at what the Fed has been doing, I've been focused on one thing, and that's individuals actually taking their money out of the bank at an alarming rate, money market funds. And we've looked at this, and there's been over $5 trillion being parked into those money market funds, and it's only going to continue to grow. Now, as we do look at that, it causes a big problem on the banks because they are at basically a net zero deposit rate, as individuals are withdrawing a ton of capital to park it into other areas of interest. Now, as we do see that, we also still see lending at an all-time high, but now we are seeing banks slowing the lending down. This is a big warning sign that, one, they do not want to lend because they don't actually have the capital to lend, and as more and more rate hikes come into play, well, it causes even more constriction on the banks. Liquidity is at the tightest it could possibly be, and it's only going to get tighter and tighter and tighter until, guess what? You cut off the liquidity And guess what happens? A liquidity crisis. Over here, we do see liquidity crisis could spark a long, slow trickle of bank failures. This got posted back in April of this year. Since then, yes, we've seen even more regional banks crumble. We do see the liquidity crisis facing some small, mid-sized, and regional banks could take years to resolve, leading to further upheaval and consolidation in the banking sector. Now, we've actually talked about this, and I do want to question all of you out there as well, very similar to what I questioned in yesterday's XRP video, which is, do you believe this is all by plan to usher in the new financial system? To me personally, I've talked about this many times on this channel, going all the way back to the World Economic Forum and really kind of addressing a few things happening. I do believe that we are seeing an overall implosion of the current financial system invoked by the government, specifically the Fed and the Treasury, to get rid of the old traditional system and usher in this digital system backed by possibly gold with CBDCs issued out on DLT. What do I mean by that? Well, the CBDCs themselves will be backed by physical gold issued out on DLT technology, and it could even be private ledger technology like the XRP ledger. And when I say the XRP ledger, there's a private ledger based on the XRP ledger technology. That would be very significant, and that's something that I've been watching for a little bit of time and really kind of thinking about and speculating on. But it's questionable on what could happen from here on out. But we do know liquidity is continuously being constricted. And as we do see over here, the Bank of Canada, England, Japan, the European Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, and even the Swiss National Bank have announced a joint liquidity operation. Can we just get this week over with already? This goes all the way back to March, the end of March. And so far this year, we did hear the word liquidity often, and we also seen even more banks starting to collapse. And, I do think that the elites have a hand in this, and I think that's all been pre-planned. And at least, hey, listen, if this is all happening, those that are not really focused on the bigger picture here are going to get left behind. If you see the technology revolution happening here, if you do see the idea of the fourth industrial revolution really kind of becoming a reality, and you look at the companies and the technology behind it, Ripple is one of them. Ripple with XRP is one of them. And I said it even in a video yesterday that XRP is the chosen one. I do believe that we are seeing a major liquidity crisis brewing, and I believe that Ripple has the solution. We do see over here, Liquidity Hub, our B2B crypto liquidity API solution. And although, yes, I get it, XRP is not included in the Liquidity Hub. I've seen this argument so often already, it's actually ridiculous that people don't really understand what's happening here. Yes, XRP is not included in the Liquidity Hub yet. Big word, yet. Because as we look at the battle with the SEC, which I also believe is pre-planned, I already said it. Like, listen, 2.5 years is plenty. Can you imagine how many weak hands got shaken out of XRP just by that 2.5 year time frame? And I even see it now. Like, I see so many people commenting on my videos getting so frustrated with the time and the price of XRP. Like, I see so many people saying like, oh, if Ripple's expanding here and there and doing all this, like, why isn't XRP moving up in value? Why isn't XRP trading at this and that price? I want you all to understand that the best way to shake retail out is time. The second best way to shake retail out is price. And guess what? We got the best of both worlds with this SEC lawsuit. XRP's price got stifled greatly during 2020 and 2021. And then we also seen the time, 2.5 years so far. So if you are still holding XRP, first off, I congratulate you. You seriously have diamond hands. But also, I want to say that you understand the vision here. If you can look past all the nonsense around XRP, meaning the lawsuit, the SEC's arguments around XRP, the FUD on Twitter, the FUD on YouTube, these people talking about how XRP will never be utilized and XRP is some scam coin, that Ripple's constantly dumping XRP and all this nonsense, then yes, you will succeed. A lot of people want to focus on the escrow. It's very similar to Hedera, right? You have token unlocks for Hedera with HBAR, right? Those token unlocks, a lot of people think that they're dumping it on the open market. They're not. They are unlocking those tokens and being, keyword here, distributed to partners and people that want to utilize the token. The same way that the XRP escrow is being unlocked and it's being sold to those on-demand liquidity customers. As we look at the liquidity hub, I believe that this is a solution that will solve a lot of problems. Yes, the future is not just centered out on XRP. Listen, the liquidity hub was not just centered out on XRP. We even do see here, designed for usability and interoperability, it gives enterprise customers a competitive advantage in a multi-asset future. A future defined by liquidity. We are rapidly moving towards a multi-asset reality wherein consumers and businesses will have to manage a broad portfolio of assets across fiat, cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, non-fungible tokens, and more. And the key word here is the fact that they are still including fiat here with crypto, as well as CBDCs and even NFTs and more. Businesses must be able to move into and out of these distinct assets quickly and easily, regardless of the number of users on the platform, trading volume, and market efficiency, all aspects which may impact liquidity. A key component to this is ensuring businesses do not have to sacrifice value in order to execute transactions like affordable real-time cross-border payments. Crypto and digital assets can also enhance transparency and facilitate treasury functions. These use cases all hinge on interoperability, requiring strong on and off ramps between crypto and fiat and deep pools of liquidity between asset pairs, or a crypto asset to, oh wow, look at that, bridge lesser pools. As we look at XRP, the use case behind XRP is so significant. I don't think people really look at that as a significant use case in terms of like bridging things, but that bridge asset idea of XRP is so significant. And we do see Liquidity Hub benefits from all the hard-won lessons Ripple gained sourcing liquidity from other providers and across multiple venues for on-demand liquidity. It combines ease of use, powerful payment integrations, cost savings, and more into a single scalable enterprise-grade platform. And I do think that as we look at crypto, right, this idea of reducing cost and freeing trapped capital, like these use cases, this idea of how strong digital assets are in crypto themselves, like this to me is the secret sauce around our traditional system. Being able to source liquidity on demand, freeing up well over $27 trillion in nostro accounts could ultimately solve the liquidity crisis. Think about it like this. Think about our government. Instead of them printing money, or if you will, because again, a lot of people think there's a false idea around printing money. It's not actually physical. They are adding digital zeros to the money supply. They wouldn't need to do that, because once they free up those nostro accounts, that's immediate trapped capital sourced right into the system. It could be tapped immediately. And you could also have on-demand liquidity. Like, this is a big area of interest. And I believe that the liquidity hub itself, whether it be just one asset or multiple assets, is a perfect use case to solve the liquidity crisis. And I believe Ripple sees this themselves as well. And also, I do want to focus on a few things. We are starting to see a big move towards adoption of stablecoins and digital assets, and we are starting to see big names focusing on this. The ECB has been one that I've focused on quite a bit. Shout out to Matthew Lin Wai. The third meeting of the European FinTech Payments Dialogue took place on March 28th, where representatives of 6 European fintechs and of European central banks, May 2023, posted to the internet. And here you guys have the ECB, third meeting of the European FinTech Payments Dialogue, and the first sentence here pretty much tells us where we are at. The use of stablecoins and unbacked crypto assets for retail payments. Over here, we do see the main challenges identified relate to when the crypto world meets the fiat world. Several fintechs mentioned de-risking by banks as a challenge for which legal clarity is needed to overcome difficulties, and for getting regulated entities such as banks involved in providing their services also to fintechs active in the crypto world. Over here, we do see, as already noted, adoption of crypto assets for payments is observed more for younger generations and thus will probably increase gradually. Hence, it is not expected that there will be a radical shift from traditional payments methods towards payments in crypto assets. I think that the best way to actually look at this is the fact that you will see a radical shift in the back end of things, meaning the traditional payment methods will be disrupted by the payment technology within crypto, instead of it being, hey, I'm going to pay for things with XRP, which you still can do technically. And then over here, we do see a few of the major players behind all of this. And also Stasis is one of them, which we already know Stasis is a big key player with Ripple, which if you guys don't know about, yes, focus on Stasis as well. They're a big player. And you also see the other players here as well. And then also over here, we do see from 801_XRP, this is from 2020, by the way, this article, but we do see the Saudi G20 presidency and BIS org are proud to host a global level fintech focused hackathon to highlight the potential for technology to resolve regulatory compliance, regtech, and supervisory subtech challenges, 3 tech sprint winners. And we do see the video here. This is 2 minutes long. I'll just kind of skip ahead here because there is a lot of just wasted time here, but we do see highlighted the potential for new technologies to resolve regulatory compliance and supervisory challenges, a need thrown into sharper focus by the COVID-19 pandemic. And then over here, we do see the proposals. These were like the main focus points in terms of regulations. And then we do see the actual solutions submitted from, a ton of players. And here we have the winners. Again, this is just like a few winners behind all of this. But what I really want to focus on is this over here. So we do see BIS Innovation Hub and Saudi G20 presidency announced tech sprint winners. We have those winners. Then over here, we do see FNA. So this is the one that I want to focus on going all the way back to, again, 2020. FNA won the dynamic information sharing category for their solution FNA platform for dynamic information sharing and real-time analytics. But what makes this very interesting is the second part to this tweet. And we do see Ripple used FNA to simulate the liquidity needs of banks interacting over the network over time. That made it possible to determine the required liquidity flows within a hub bank to support the projected network volumes and values and to justify the benefits of the new service/network. And check this out. Simulate an interconnected world, over here, trusted by the world's leading central banks, financial institutions, and national security organizations. Check this out. This is insane. You have Payments Canada, you have the Department of the Treasury, you have CME Group, then you have Finality, which, by the way, if you don't know about Finality, major player, Ripple, and then the Department of Defense. This is big. This is a big deal. Over here, we do see, and let me open this up in a new tab as well, using network simulations to design FMIs. What are simulations? Here they do break this fully down. Basically, it's just talking about the method behind all of this. But we do see the short history of FMI simulations. Bank of Finland evaluate liquidity needs of banks when Finland's RTGS system was joined with Target, going all the way back to 1997. Here's 2000. Bank of Japan and FRBNY test LSM features for the Bank of Japan Net/Fedwire. Then, of course, they do mention a few of the other ones down here. But as we do look at this, like, this is very interesting because all of this is centered out on liquidity within a payment system, as well as providing significant liquidity information for the banking sector. And we know Ripple utilized FNA around liquidity needs, and this is a direct connection to some of the largest names out there. And I'm not saying that, hey, these names are utilizing Ripple or anything like that today. I'm just saying there's a lot of exposure to Ripple through names like this, including even the IMF, which we know that Ripple basically joined them to discuss CBDCs for cross-border payments. Like, we are seeing significant connections here with Ripple, which again allows me to understand that Ripple is playing a big game here. They're a big role player around the new financial system and also behind even the traditional system now. And it's only a matter of time until we do see crypto potential and power tapped for this traditional system to not only become more efficient, but also to secure the traditional system and ultimately help it avoid a liquidity crisis, unless by plan, like I said, they want this liquidity crisis to happen. They want an implosion of the traditional system to usher in this new financial system. And again, the connection here is Stasis, a big player connected to Ripple. And I'm very excited to see a lot of these connections, really kind of playing out. Because again, I do think that we are very close to that big event around crypto and even the traditional system. I know that a lot of people have been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and I understand how, frustrating that could be. Like I said, the best way to shake people out is time. But as we do look at things happening, it's happening in real time. We are seeing things moving pretty quickly. We are seeing the banks, I mean, big banks are starting to collapse, and we are seeing centralization of the banking sector, all centered out on, of course, JP Morgan. And I think that's only a matter of time until we see other major banks trying to say, okay, we need to compete with JP Morgan. What can we tap? What can we utilize to, avoid, basically succumbing to JP Morgan? And the best way to do that is by tapping into crypto power and potential. And I do think that they will source the power and the potential of Ripple. It's only a matter of time until we start to see a lot of big moves happening within the traditional banking sector centered out on crypto. And with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on if you guys have more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. I hope that you all have a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are on this beautiful world. It's been Nick. Peace out, guys.